What is up, everybody? Welcome into this Wednesday episode of Flippin' Bats, where we got a great guest about to join. Stud rookie pitcher for the Houston Astros, Hunter Brown, is about to join me, and this is a blast of a conversation. We're going to talk about his call-up right during the playoff push last year and pitching in the playoffs, the World Series parade, getting some funny stories from him about the World Series parade. He grew up being a huge fan of Justin's, and their mechanics are very similar, and then they become teammates. So asking him a lot about that and how cool it was to be able to be teammates with him. Man, this is going to be a blast of a conversation. We have a lot of fun. He shares some great Dusty Baker stories of them fishing out on the lake. And of course, this one's going to be important to Astros fans. Buc-ee's and In-N-Out versus Whataburger. He's got some strong takes here. You got to hear his answer. This one's going to be a lot of fun. Without further ado, let's bring him in now and welcome in starting pitcher for the Houston Astros, Hunter Brown.
It's a blowout, 8th inning, 10-3. Bases are loaded for Verlander, who waits on a 3-0 pitch. He swings, and it's a high fly ball, deep center field. It is gone! Home run! And a huge bat flip to celebrate. All right, Ben, start the show already.
All right, and I am pumped now to be joined by starting pitcher for the Houston Astros, Hunter Brown, in his official rookie season. Hunter, thank you for joining me, my friend.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Of course. I want to start with last year with you. You come up late in the year, September, make your debut in the middle of a playoff push for the Houston Astros. Well, maybe not much of a push because they were already in, but I digress. In the middle of a playoff push, right before the playoffs, you make your debut in September against the Rangers. I think it was 6 innings, no runs. It was nasty. What do you remember about that day, coming up in September and making your big league debut?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, like most people say, dream come true, blah blah blah,
Yeah.
that whole 9 yards. But actually, I had a Anthony Bass, who was a alumni of Wayne State, which is where I went to college. He texted me that morning, and he said, "Hey man, no matter how today goes, like you're gonna forever be a big leaguer after today. So just go out there and just let it eat, kind of thing." So. That was like the start of my day where it kind of helped me, like, just get into the moment and get into like, hey man, I'm just about to, pitch another game, make another start here. It just so happens to be in the big league. So, he kind of helped lead me into a good frame of mind. But then, like, before it was just everything that you think of and everything that you dream of. The lights are big and bright, and the adrenaline's running high, and you just you get that fulfillment of like, hey man, I've been working for however long, and here we are.
And it wasn't that much longer really into your big league career when you're pitching in game 1 of the playoffs for the Astros against the Mariners. Honestly, a great series. Every game was pretty close for the most part. Obviously, game 3, you pitched in that as well. But game 1, you're tasked with coming in out of the bullpen and pitching in that game. Where are the nerves at then?
Yeah, so I kind of knew my role was going to be, like, maybe what my pocket was going to be, and then obviously where maybe the game was going to be if we had a little bit bigger lead, or down by a little bit more. So it was I think it was 7-4 at the time, and that phone rings. I'm like, oh man, here we go, it might be me. And sure enough, Brownie get going. So yeah, it's just like I said, the adrenaline spike. It was probably bigger than my debut, but that's also probably in part to being in the bullpen. Everything kind of just happens a little bit quicker out there. You don't have quite your own pace and routine where you can kind of get going. It's just like, hey man, fire it up and get out there. So, but that was awesome. I mean, the crowd here in Houston, unbelievable. And yeah, I mean, you're pitching big league playoff baseball. It doesn't get much better than that.
And then you got to pitch in that 17-inning 0-0 ball game. You threw 2 innings. I don't even remember which 2 innings you pitched. It was later in the game. Was it, I mean, were you expecting to pitch in that game, or was it kind of like, we're running out of guys, Hunter, we need you?
Yeah, it started, the phone keeps ringing and ringing and ringing. And then, you're like, you look around in the bullpen, you're like, oh man, there's only a couple of us left here. So I'm probably gonna get another shot. And the Mariners fans let me know how much I was probably going to blow that game warming up in that bullpen out there, but we ended up coming out on top, and that was, I mean, that day was crazy. That was probably, I mean, that was the craziest game I've ever been a part of. It was 0-0 till the 18th inning, and I don't even know how many hours it took, but that place was jumping for the entirety of it. So it was great.
That's what I was going to. Normally in a regular season, a game is 0-0 into the 17th and everybody's miserable. Both teams just want it to end. But obviously playoffs, it's a completely different scenario. It was the first playoff game in Seattle in over 21 years. Obviously the game means everything. I mean, that place had to be going insane during that game.
Oh yeah. I mean, I thought that day was like the loudest of any in the well, maybe not the World Series when Jordan put us up at home to pretty much seal the deal, but that was right there with it, with just an ongoing roar for just hours and hours. It was great, man.
You end up pitching once in the ALCS against the Yankees, and then World Series happens. You guys end up winning the World Series. Have you ever, or did you at this time, step back and think, I've been a big leaguer for like 60 days. I've made my debut. I've pitched in the playoffs. I've won a World Series. Should this be happening?
Yeah, I think you definitely ask yourself that. And then it was actually probably like the second or third game of the World Series. I was looking back like, okay, we didn't win any conference titles when I was at school. And then we won the AAA league one year that I was there. I was like, man, the first real thing I'm going to win is going to be the World Series, which is pretty incredible. Like,
that's
so
insane.
that was crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy. I need your best World Series parade story.
Ooh.
I've gotten a few over the years. I can give you some time to think, but over the years, I've had last 2 years, I guess. So I've had some Astros guys on and some Braves. The Braves parade, if you remember, went viral because that bus was going like 80 miles an hour through the parade. And players were like, we were getting beers chucked at us from the rooftops and like scared for our lives. I feel like I always end up getting a funny parade story.
Yeah, well, for me, so it started with they kind of sent me to run around and try and get beers and coolers and stuff from the other boats to bring them to the other float where most of the guys were, and that was kind of a dummy mission. I couldn't really acquire any of these items that they had on the list, so I was running around like chicken with my head cut off for a little bit. And then I don't know, I was with JJ next to him on the float, and this person just hucked this beer, and I just kind of dove and hit the deflection. Otherwise, it would have drilled him right in the face. But other than that, it was just crazy day. Like you said, beers flying, people are cheering. I'd never seen such just a wave of people packed in.
There were like 3 million. It was over 2 million people. That's insane.
Yeah, we were looking up at the like parking structures, and there's people hanging off on the 11th floor of a parking structure, kind of, holding on, hanging over the edge. I'm like, man, this is just unbelievable stuff.
Jeez. And then, so this year you guys get your rings from the World Series. Have you worn the ring ever?
Just when we got them, put them on for the pictures. Other than that, I've just kind of been staring at it here and there.
Where is it?
It's at my house, locked up, ready to go for a special occasion, maybe when we run it back this year.
So that year, last year, win a World Series, you become teammates with my brother Justin. And my question to you, because I've heard this story many times, and there were a lot of stories when you made your debut, but you grew up in Detroit and a big fan of the Detroit Tigers, and have said you were a big fan of Justin, but I've heard everything all over the place. So in terms of fandom, are we talking like idol growing up, or just like a massive fan? Where was Justin in terms of you growing up being a fan?
Yeah, well, first things first, it was hard to be any kid in Michigan at the time, especially, when I'm 9 to 12 years old, watching him, win an MVP and Cy Young and not just be a huge Justin Verlander fan. But Yeah, I mean, he was probably my favorite pitcher on the team. It wasn't like, I mean, I feel maybe because I was older, it wasn't like I walked in the clubhouse, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's him. Like, but yeah, I mean, they had some great pitchers. I was a big fan of Joel Zumaya as well as Scherzer, David Price. I mean, I was a Doug Fister fan as well. Like, I mean, they just had so many great arms over the years, and obviously great teams too. But
Yeah, I can't talk
you
about it
know,
too
he
much without getting disappointed in the results.
I know. I thought 2012 was the year, but um, yeah. So he was. I mean, he was the ace. He was the big dog. He was the one that you kind of wanted to be like, and that's kind of where people probably got the story was.
Yeah.
I used to, when I was a kid, I was in. We play wiffle ball in the backyard, and you just like anybody else, you mock batting stances or pitching motions or whatever it is, and I just always tried to do my windup like him, and then by the time I got to high school and then college and then so on and so forth, it just kind of stuck, and then it's similar, but he's a lot bigger and throws from a lot higher
Yeah.
arm slot. So there are a lot of differences in the mechanics. But yeah, I guess the flow of it and the rhythm definitely stems from
Yeah,
him.
definitely. And you can see it. There was that side by side video, and it's cool to see. And it does make sense if everybody imitates like Jeff Bagwell, Gary Sheffield in the backyard playing wiffle ball, but you do pitching motions as well. And it's cool that
Yeah,
obviously being from Detroit, you do Justin, and some of those things just stick with you. Like as a kid, you stick with it. Next thing you know, those are your mechanics, and you still tweak them throughout your life. But that's kind of the basis of where it all started was from watching a lot of Justin, which I think is really cool.
yeah, definitely.
What was do you remember you get called up? Maybe this wasn't your first conversation, but do you remember your first ever conversation with Justin and what it was like?
Yeah, actually, it was before I was in the big leagues, and we still had Strami was the pitching coach here, and
Yeah.
I threw a bullpen in spring training, and he just he said, "Oh, like he's like, yeah, looking good, man. Like we'll definitely, kind of be in talks a little bit more, have a
Yeah.
meeting or whatever." So then him and Dusty kind of called me to the office, and they just hand me a piece of paper, and it's got a phone number on it, and he said, "Hey, this is Justin's number. Just
That's
give him
cool.
a shout." So yeah, I gave him a call and just said, "Hey, man, big fan. Obviously, I'm in the organization, blah blah blah." And he was doing his TJ stuff at the
Yeah.
time, so he wasn't in camp. But he just was like, "Yeah, man, it was great to hear from you. If you ever need anything, let me know." And then, fast forward however long, and then we were teammates, and it was just, it was great.
That's really cool. You probably don't, when you originally call, you're probably not asking too many questions or asking for tips, but when you guys become teammates, naturally that's going to happen. I mean, over the course of the few
Right.
months that you guys are in the big leagues and teammates together, was there something you relied on him for or leaned on him or asked him questions and learned from him?
Yeah, I mean, just kind of watching his daily routine was the thing that I was most impressed with. Obviously he's a creature of habit. Most of us are, but he kind of takes it to a whole new level. And honestly, my favorite thing is watching just his throwing program every day. What he's working on, whether it's a higher intensity bullpen or just going out there a day after a start and playing catch, but just kind of watching him do that stuff and kind of picking his brain on what he's trying to accomplish day to day was really cool for me, and that was where I kind of felt the most benefit from what you can kind of focus on
Yeah.
and change and over the course of the season what you need to do to maintain success.
Are you as superstitious as he is?
Yeah, in ways, probably not as much. Like I was afraid. I would say maybe not afraid, but he was when it was his start day. I didn't even want to like make eye contact with him.
No.
I wanted to just like I didn't want to. Not that I would because he's so locked in, but I didn't want to have any effect on what he was doing. Like I didn't. I wanted to just be like kind of a shadow that he would just walk. He would just walk by. I think most of the guys probably felt that way because yeah, man, he's just locked in all the time, locked in as can be.
I will never forget. I was pretty young. He's 9 years older than me, so he's been in the big leagues since I was what, like 12, 13 years old. And I'll forever remember one time my family, we're from Virginia. We went up to Baltimore to watch him pitch. And I forget how this happened, but my dad and I were like down in the field for BP or something right before the game, and Justin was pitching. and he comes walking out of the dugout, and I was literally at like the top of the steps. I didn't see him, but I saw him pass me. He legitimately almost ran over me. And after the game, I was like, dude, you almost hit me. And he was like, what are you talking about? I was like, I was right there on the field. And he goes, oh, I didn't even see you. So even if you did kind of get in his way, he might just run over you and not even know you're there. It's crazy on game days. All right, let's go down memory lane with the Tigers for a second, because I think you were 8 years old in 2006 when Maglio hit that walk-off home run to go to the World Series. And it is still to this day one of the greatest memories of my entire life. I think I was 14 at the time. One, are you old enough to even remember that moment?
Yeah, I know. I was right there, right in the middle of my living room, watching the game with my dad, and as soon as he made contact with that ball, man, just screams of joy.
You knew it.
It had been so. Yeah, you knew it was over, and it had been so long. 84, right? I think was the last time that they won it in 84, but I think it was the last time they went even. So that was, just iconic moment, really.
That was it'll be in my brain forever. Placido Polanco running around the bases, throwing his hands up in the air. I mean, that was really cool. Do you have a favorite from growing up? Do you have a favorite Tigers memory?
Yeah, it was just my school went when we were, I don't know, it might have been 5th or 6th grade, just took a field trip, and it was just like a random day game, and Brandon Inge hit a walk-off home run. It wasn't like it wasn't like a super significant game, but I just remember being there with all my buddies growing up, and it was just great day to be at the ballpark.
Yeah.
You know, it was awesome, and I was a big Brandon Inge fan as well.
Brandon Inge is great. I love that guy. So let's step back for a second into your career. You end up being drafted in the 5th round out of Wayne State, as you mentioned earlier, well, first off, why Wayne State for you? Was it your only offer? Did you have bigger ones but always wanted to go there? What was the reasoning behind Wayne State for you?
Yeah, so a couple different reasons. It's close to home, and I didn't have all my offers in general were around the area, whether they were NAIA, D3, didn't matter. So those were kind of my options. And then Eastern Michigan wanted me to redshirt and be like a bullpen catcher and throw some bullpens too as a freshman.
Catcher. Oh my God.
Yeah. So I caught in high school, and I was definitely better at catching than pitching up until probably my senior year. So it made sense. But, then I threw at this camp, and the Wayne State coach saw me, and he was like, hey man, we think, you can play here as a freshman. And I was like, oh, wow. So go catch bullpens and watch a bunch of baseball for a year, or, play right away. So it was kind of a no-brainer for me. And, I think if things had worked out differently and I wasn't going to play baseball at the collegiate level, I probably would have went to Wayne State for school anyway. Yeah. So, it just kind of was a perfect fit for me.
I feel like every team has their like third backup emergency catcher just in case. Are you ever gonna vie with Dusty Baker to be the Astros emergency catcher?
I mean, in my mind, I already am. Yeah, so, but he just doesn't know that yet.
That's great. So you end up being drafted 2019 in the 5th round. What was your draft day story? Your draft day experience like? How cool was it for you?
Oh, it was awesome, and it caught me by surprise too. So I knew I wasn't going day one.
Yeah.
I just knew that, and then so I'm thinking, okay, day 2, got a good chance here. And I was just sitting at the living room with my family at my dad's house, and we were just kind of. I was expecting to go to the Giants in the 6th round, and then so I was kind of 5th round rolls around. I'm kind of just patiently waiting, and then the pick came in. It was Houston Astros, and then it was me. I was like, oh man, holy crap, I just got drafted, so here we go.
So you had no call like from your agent or anybody? You were legitimately shocked when you heard your name?
Yeah, I definitely I had no idea I was getting picked there, so it was awesome. I mean, I think it definitely made it better, because it wasn't so like, I guess, scripted. It was very much so in the moment, and it was just, oh man, it was just so much happiness, so much joy, and it was a wonderful day.
I don't think I've even told this on the show, but I've told my draft day story. I was in the 14th, and it was very, very cool, but very normal. But I don't think I've ever told the story of Justin's, but it's crazy. because Justin went second overall, but it was so long ago that it was like it was a very different process. It definitely wasn't on TV. You kind of like had to listen to it on the radio. There was a way you could. So we had a bunch of people over for this draft day, but my dad messed up the technical aspect of the radio and the stereo system we had out. So we missed Justin's name being called in the draft because my dad couldn't figure out the radio. But he actually got a call from the Tigers, and that's how he figured it out. But the whole situation was wild, and we missed the call.
That is a lot different.
Yeah, definitely a lot different at the time. So you end up playing your first year in the New York Penn League for the Valley Cats, actually, in Tri-City. My question for you is that guy still sitting behind the net with that big beard screaming Vamos Gatos the whole time behind home plate?
Yeah. Huge white
beard. I remember being on deck. He'd just start like screaming it even before the sound would start going off. The guy would like start the chant in the stadium. Apparently he's a legend around there.
Yeah, so we at the time we were still like doing the radar gun and stuff on days after you pitched during the game. So I actually had a couple conversations with him out there, sitting with him. But yeah, just what a personality. I mean, yeah, he keeps the stadium going. People love him, so it's great.
Do you have a New York Penn League story? The reason I ask is I just had Mike Yastrzemski on a couple weeks ago, and we were in the New York Penn League at the same time. We were in the All-Star game together, our first year together, and we look back on that time and just think like we became professional athletes, and you end up playing in a place like the Vermont Lake Monsters where the locker room is on a slab of like dirt. Like you're literally showering on like dirt. When you look back at the New York Penn League, do you have any crazy stories like that?
Yeah, so I was going to say, actually, the one that was the most shocking was Vermont.
It's always Vermont.
I mean, they like parked the bus next to the building.
Yeah.
And we were like changing outside, not even in the building and not on the bus. It was like right in between. They kind of just blocked it off for us. So, because they only had a couple showers, so they kind of filed us in and out.
It's literally like a shack under high school football bleachers, basically.
Yeah, it was wild. But I mean, I played D2, so I kind of knew. I didn't know exactly what I was getting into, but I was ready for any adversity because we dealt with some stuff like that, changing on the bus or whatnot. But a good story would be, I wish I remember the guy's name, and some of the guys I played with in spring training or whatever, sometimes it'll get brought up, but there was it was in the Red Sox farm system. Man, I wish I remember his name, but if you've been to the New York Penn League, you've been to where the Valley Cats play, there's like kind of pine trees deep out there. And they got the sign that says it's like 400 and something feet, and it says how many Jose Altuves it is, right? And then there's like this row of pine trees back there. And, the lights don't even go that far. This guy, this is like one of my first games there. He hits this ball. And I mean, I'd never seen a ball go as far, He parked it over these pine trees.
He went over the pine trees?
Yeah, it had to have been like a 510-foot home run. Like it was the most unbelievable thing I had ever witnessed. Just jaw to the floor, and I was like, wow, okay, this is pro ball. I mean, some guys got some serious tools here. So it was awesome.
Is the guy a big leaguer? You don't even remember his name?
No, I can't for the life of me remember who it was, but it was just one of those moments where I was like, man, that is got to be the furthest ball I've ever seen hit.
Dude, in the Penn, one of my first games, we were playing Lowell. We were playing the Lowell Spinners, and Mauricio Dubon was on that team. And we, you become fairly close with guys you're playing against, especially like middle infielders and offensive guys. We end up talking out there all the time. But there was a play where I slid into second base and like hit him pretty hard, obviously unintentionally. I'm not like a spikes up guy, but I slid into him, and we talked for a second. He was like, yeah, I'm good. Well, fast forward to last year in the World Series. He comes up to me and goes, "What's up, man?" And I'm like, "Hey, dude, what's up? How are you?" And he pulls up his sleeve. He has a scar on his arm, and he's like, "You did this." I was like, "Oh my God, I haven't talked to you in like 10 years, and I've just created a scar on your arm a long time ago." I felt awful about it, but it's just like a funny like full circle moment, I guess.
Yeah, he's never gonna forget too. He probably saw you. He's ready to throw some.
I
hands,
know. I was
maybe,
like,
you know?
I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it. So that year, well, right after that, COVID happens, and from then you end up shooting right through the minor leagues and have a really good minor league career. But I ask everybody this question because it's the phone call that everybody wants that I was close to but never got. Your call up to the big leagues moment. How did it happen? Where were you? What happened?
So I'll go into some details here. So it was on my birthday. We were in Vegas, so it was a great week as it was playing in Vegas. And so we had a flight that was for the off day, and in AAA last year at least, it was every Monday was an off day. So I think our flight was not till like 6 p.m. or something like that. I'm like, okay, well, flights from Vegas to Houston probably can't be too bad.
Yeah.
I'm thinking maybe a couple $100. So a teammate of mine, Chad Donato, and myself were like, yeah, man, we're just gonna, get out of Dodge, get out of here early in the morning, get the off day at home. So I called Mickey, who's the AAA manager. I was like, hey man, do you mind if I catch a flight early here? Like, This is on Saturday or Friday or something like that. He's like, yeah, man, no problem. So fast forward to Sunday evening after the game, Mickey comes in the locker room and he's like, all right, anybody who thinks that they got a flight home, like, you need to come see me in my office. Like, kind of seemed like, bothered. Like, I'm like, oh man, like I called him. I was thinking, it's going to go okay. Cause he seemed kind of frustrated, and so he sits me down and he's like, yeah, so sorry, man. I know I told you that you can do this, but like the organization isn't too happy with guys trying to get their own flights home, especially when they're supposed to be going to Arlington instead of Houston. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, man, like you're going to the big leagues. You'll meet the team in Arlington. And I was just like, oh man, I just started crying, like, big hugs all around. It was great. But yeah, he definitely did probably as best as I could have imagined delivering me the news. So that was awesome. And that was a special day, obviously. Call my family, crying on the phone. It's my birthday. It was a great day.
Oh, what a birthday. It's going to be tough to ever top that birthday in your life now.
Yeah, my 24th birthday. I don't think it'll get much better.
All right, I got a couple fun questions for you before we finish up. First one being, favorite stadium that you have gotten to play in so far in your big league career, other than Minute Maid. Take that out of it.
Okay. It's good. Not a lot of people are going to like this. I love playing at the Trop. I love the
Whoa!
Trop. Yeah,
Why?
I love it. I think it's great. I love the mound there. I like the clubhouse. I enjoy it. I don't know. And then I know a lot of people don't like that place, probably because they're playing with I don't have to worry about defense as much, catching fly balls out there, so it doesn't bother me any. But and then I like Camden Yards a lot. I think that's a great stadium.
You'll appreciate this, as obviously growing up in Detroit, you were a Tigers fan. So when I was playing in the minor leagues, those games right before the season, right after spring training, it's those exhibition games in major league stadiums. So I forget what year it was when I was in the minors, but I was a part of that exhibition game, and ours with the Tigers that year was at the Trop against the Rays. So, you never know when the starters are going to want to come out. But I had heard, hey, you're going to go in for Justin Upton whenever he comes out. Well, J-Up was good with like one at bat. So it's like the second inning, and I'm going into left field. And in this game, everybody else was still in. So like Miggy was at third base, Jose Iglesias was at shortstop, and I'm in left field for the first time playing outfield at the Trop. And of course, like second batter of me in the game comes, hits a pop-up into shallow left. So I start running in, and I call the ball, but my thought goes to, well, I can't run over Miguel Cabrera. I will be released on the spot, and nobody will ever like me again in my life. So I'm running in, but I look down just to make sure Miggy and Iglesias are getting out of the way, because obviously I don't want to run over them. And when I look back up, I lost the ball. It was just gone. Like I literally couldn't find it anywhere. And I end up, I saw it like last second and caught it like back behind my head. But It is the real
Oh, you
deal.
did catch it then.
I caught it, but you
Okay, thank you.
cannot take your eye off the ball in that stadium. You legitimately just can't do it.
Yeah, I've been out there shagging, and we don't take very many hard breaks out towards the ball in BP, but excuse me. Yeah, you look down for 1 second, look back up, man. It's so gray, you can't find anything. So I know what you're saying, and I feel for the guys out there, but I personally just love the mound, love pitching there.
Do you
So
have
that's number one for me.
Do you have a least favorite?
No, I don't. I mean, I guess right now probably Angel Stadium because I pitched there once
Ooh,
and it didn't go too hot
that
for me.
factors into
So
it.
I got a personal vendetta there.
Everybody's answers
But
are always either the Oakland Coliseum or somewhere that they got rocked or like went 0 for 4 with 4 punchies.
yeah, no doubt. So yeah, definitely there. But hopefully flip the script sometime this year.
What's something about Dusty Baker that most people wouldn't know?
Ooh, wouldn't know.
Or a funny story you have
He
about Dusty?
Well, first of all, Dusty might be one of the coolest guys I've
He's
ever
great.
met. This guy, yeah, his life has just been unbelievable. So I've had the chance to go fishing with him a couple times,
What?
which has
That's
been
great.
awesome. Yeah, he's quite the angler. He loves fishing, but he and what I find so cool is he's like when you're out there, I don't know, you've been fishing on a boat, I'm sure,
Yeah.
or at least done some sort of activity
Yeah.
like that. Just normal conversation happens, and we were coming into the canal at the end of the one day, and he pointed at a boat, and he's like, "Oh, that one kind of reminds me of the one that my buddies from Fleetwood Mac had," and I'm just like, he just says this in passing like it's nothing, and I'm just like, dude, you've lived a great life, man. Like, a lot of people, you've done a lot of great things. Like, so that's one of the coolest stories I've had. Obviously everybody's heard the Jimi Hendrix story and stuff like that,
Yeah.
but yeah, man, he just what a life he's had. Just an absolute legend, and obviously all the stuff he's done for the game too. He's just a great guy to be around.
I remember one of the first times I ever spoke with him. We were talking about baseball, and I was like, man. And he was like, yeah, I got a lot of stories. He goes, I've been around the game for a long time. Just to explain it, I saw Hank Aaron break the record, and then I saw Barry Bonds break Hank Aaron's record. So I've been there for a little bit of everything in baseball history. I was like, geez, that's incredible.
Yeah, that's right. I think he was on deck for Hank Aaron's, right?
He
If I'm
was.
not mistaken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, little known fact about Dusty Baker, he invented the high five, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know. I don't think he likes to talk about it. I think Justin went to ask him about it, and he's like, I don't know, man. But yeah, Dusty Baker.
I might have to bring that up. I might have to hear the story about that one.
Yes, let me know what it is. All right, another one. If you could take one pitch from any pitcher and put it in your own repertoire, what is it going to be?
Wow. One pitch. I think I could go two routes. Can I give you
Yeah.
two? Is that allowed?
Yeah.
Okay. So
You can do whatever you
for
want.
actual purposes, like if I was gonna do that, I would pick Devin Williams changeup because my changeup is just probably my fourth offering.
Yeah.
So I think that would probably help me improve the most. But the most fun that I would probably have is like give me Tim Wakefield's knuckleball just kind of thrown in there. I think that'd be great.
That's a great answer. Can you
I
throw a
think those are the
knuckleball?
two. No, I always try to kind of mess around, but I don't think it's great for the forearm and things like that. I don't know if the pitching coaches saw me if they'd be too happy, but mine's okay. It's not great. Kyle Tucker has a pretty good one actually. He gets it to dance. His is pretty good.
Of course he does. We were talking about this before we started, but if you end up in the Astros Fantasy Football League this year, just do not make trades with Kyle. Just don't do it. A nightmare. Nightmare
advice.
trader.
No,
He's going to
good
try and
advice.
gyp you at every possible corner. All right.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah, it is. But yeah, sometimes you piss people off in the process if it's too bad. All right. Toughest hitter for you in your career? Maybe somebody you've struggled against, but your toughest hitter you've faced.
Ooh. All time, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, there's certain I don't I don't have any names in particular that like jump out at me.
Yeah.
Mostly because some of them I've only faced once or twice.
Yeah, sure.
Like at the big league level, but there's like types of hitters that I particularly don't like, and it's kind of like just guys that find ways to get hits and
Yeah.
like where you can, let's say you dot a fastball inside and they're not great inside fastball hitters, but they can bleed it over first base.
Like
Like
the
just
Luis
guys that really,
Arise type hitters.
yeah, like those
Yeah.
guys where you're like, man, that was a pretty good pitch, and you still got me. Those types of guys, obviously really get under your skin. I'm trying to think. I would love to give you a name, but
No, that's good.
yeah, it's definitely just more of a type of hitter, I
Yeah.
guess.
No, this last one's way more important and arguably the most important question I'm going to ask you throughout this whole process because it's very important to Astros fans, I've learned. I'm from Virginia, didn't know the importance of this. You probably didn't early in your life. What are your thoughts on Buc-ee's?
Yeah, I don't want to upset anybody.
Oh, you don't like it?
It's like, I mean, it's just like the breakfast taco, right? Like that's what they got. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think it's anything. It's nothing to like super write home about. I mean, I guess it's a quality breakfast taco, but I wouldn't go crazy. And also, I mean, I will have to say like probably the bigger controversy is Whataburger versus In-N-Out, and I don't particularly fall on the Texas side. So
You're in and out.
yeah, I'm an In-N-Out burger.
You might
I'm
be
sorry, everybody.
You might be disowned.
Don't get mad at me. I
no
know, don't get
Buc-ee's
mad at me.
and in and out over Whataburger.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry.
Hunter, this has been a blast, man. Thank you so much for joining me. Wishing you well the rest of the season, and you're forever a friend of the pod now. Come back on whenever, my friend.
All right, I appreciate it, Ben. Thanks for having me, man.
Of course. Good luck. See ya. All right, thanks again to Hunter for joining me. What a blast. I love Hunter Brown. What a great conversation that was. Also, Astros fans, do not be mad at him for the In-N-Out and Buc-ee's thing. It's fine, but that was hysterical. He was genuinely worried. If you're just listening and not watching, he was genuinely concerned. You could see it, that people were not going to like his answer. But that was awesome. Always good hearing Dusty Baker's stories, and his career already is going so well. I'm a big fan of his, and hope he continues the stretch that he is on and has an awesome career. I hope you all enjoyed listening to him. I really did. I thought that was a blast. So thank you all for listening. Make sure you subscribe anywhere you listen to your podcast, Apple, Spotify, wherever. We're also on all social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and you can watch everything we do on YouTube as well at Flippin' Bats Pod for all of them. Thank you all for listening. Until tomorrow, my friends,